Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Aisha, your host. Does Islam treat women as second-class citizens? Are women oppressed by the men in Islam? These are common assumptions that we often hear. But is this really true? In our new series, Controversial Issues Related to Women, we will discuss these very questions and much more to help us understand how Islam really treats women and the rights that they have. To begin our series introduction, let's sit down with Dr. Shabir Ally. Welcome to the show, Dr. Shabir.
Pleasure to be on.
So we're exploring a new series today, Controversial Issues Related to Women. Now, in your opinion, do you think there is a lot of controversy around Muslim women and Islam's views on women?
Yes. Generally, when we talk about the position of women in Islam as presenters of the faith, we talk about the positive aspects. We show how the Quran and Islam in general has uplifted the status of women as given the background of 7th century Arabia and the world more generally, and how the rights given to women in Islam were advanced for its time beyond what was available everywhere else, and how it took many centuries for other parts of the world and other civilizations to catch up to some of the rights and privileges that were given to women in the Quran and in the Islamic tradition. But side by side with that, there is that much which is little discussed by those who present Islam like myself. Often we hear these in the form of criticisms from others. Others criticize the Islamic positions for this or that reason. They say that women's rights are being denied, women are treated as second-class citizens in Islamic societies. They point to some traditional Islamic stipulations, either in the Quran or Islamic tradition, dealing with marriage, with divorce, question of polygamy, the requirement of Muslim women's cover, especially the head cover, which marks women off as being very different from the others in society. They point to the inheritance law, which gives less to women. They point to some prescriptions in classical law, which allows for two men or two women to be in the place of one man when it comes to witnessing an event. So issues like this come up again and again, and question of women's participation in modern society. Can a woman be a leader in a mosque or in a secular sphere? All of these are issues which come up again and again, and they need to be addressed as well from within the Islamic context. Well, first for the sake of honesty, to present a balanced view. Both the positives and the negatives should be shown, but also the negatives need to be, or what is presented as criticisms from others, we do not need to be defensive about, but rather we need to be clear about these things for ourselves and for the next generation of Muslims who will grow up wondering about these questions, and they need clarity about this. Otherwise, they will be left in a confused state, wanting to believe that Islam is true, but at the same time seeing that there are real problems in some of these areas that have not been addressed from the traditional circles.
Well, I think in a Trump era as well, where you have executive orders being passed where it does target the Muslim community, I think a series like this is also very informative. What are you hoping some of the topics that we're going to cover? I think you kind of alluded to them, but more specifically, what are the different areas that you want to explore with this series?
Well, when it comes to, let's say, the question of hijab or a women's covering, to what extent is this required in the Quran, and how much of that is actually mentioned in classical works, which are due to human interpretation? We need to differentiate between the two so that Muslims are very clear what is required and what is not. The question of polygamy, we know that to be a recommendation and not a stipulation, not a requirement. But even that recommendation, does it need to be followed in modern societies in which usually the norm is one man marries one woman? And if a man were to avail himself of this classical permission, this reflects badly on the Muslim community in general, and at the same time it does not do full justice to a woman in such a marriage. We need to look at issues like this, and what will be required to deal with these issues is the application of what is known as ijtihad, which is an Arabic word depicting struggle, and it refers in the Islamic tradition to a scholar's struggle to find solutions to problems such as these ones. And the struggle involves going back to the text of the Quran, studying it very carefully against its historical context, and looking at the traditions that developed in Islamic societies, asking how much of this is actually creditable to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as his genuine sayings, and of those genuine sayings, how much of those reflect actually the state of affairs at the time. So, for example, if women are said to inherit half of what the men in a similar circumstance inherits. Why is that? Does that have to do something with the circumstance at the time? And how might that translate to a modern context in which the circumstance has wholly changed? So too with a woman witnessing a contract. The Quran only speaks about women witnessing a loan agreement. And people have generalized this, so we want to go back to the original, the source of things. And then we want to ask, okay, with that witnessing of a contract, were two women required in the place of one man because women were not so savvy at the time with financial affairs and contracts? And more so, does the Quran specifically say that there must be two women to witness, or is it that one bears witness and the other supports her?
So it sounds like you're taking a holistic approach in terms of looking at the Quranic interpretation, but then also a circumstantial situation and historical lens to put it all together.
And that's right. And the obvious goal in the end is that we must arrive at an understanding of Islam that preserves the original beauty and wisdom of the Islamic message, so that when somebody in the 7th century saw the whole picture of Islam, they said, oh, this is beautiful, I want to be a Muslim. In modern times too, what we present as the overall picture of Islam with all of its components should be something that when at least we ourselves look at it, we say, this is beautiful. And even if other people do not find it that way, I mean, we may credit that to the fact that they do not have the guidance or the special favor of God upon them. But we ourselves should see that it all fits together nicely. But we do recognize, even as faithful followers of the religion, that there are things which have come down to us through the centuries due to interpretations, obviously, over the hundreds of years, that do not fit with our modern times. We do not see the beauty, the wisdom, the hikmah, to use the Arabic word, of the Islamic principles all put together. So we need, as a result of this ijtihad or struggle and the discussion that will follow, to arrive at such a holistic understanding of the faith.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabir, and I look forward to discussing the series with you.
You're welcome.
Hey YouTube, we hope you benefited from this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more, check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.